Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 26 of the Dreams Are Real podcast. I'm Dan McPherson, and my job and the purpose of this podcast is to share inspirational stories and powerful tools that make it easier to follow your dreams. Accomplishing dreams alone isn't easy, and if you're ready to find more freedom and lighten your load, check out leadersmustlead.com or email dmcpherson@leadersmustlead.com for more information about our one-on-one and group coaching programs, upcoming live events, or to book Dan as a speaker. Our guest today is Myke Celis. Myke is a true unicorn and a man of many talents. While he has numerous accomplishments as a TV and radio host, many-time international TEDx speaker, global master coach, author, and entrepreneur, Myke's lasting impact in the world has truly come as a founder of #BestMeEver, an inspirational global brand with the power to free many around the world to live their very best lives. As you'll hear, Myke grew up wanting only one thing, to know that he was loved and mattered. This desire drove him through huge success in the marketing world and finally inspired him to break free of what others defined as success, to live daily with no regrets and do things his own way, personally proving the power of the #BestMeEver self-actualization journey he now shares with others. Listen closely. His story is powerful and his journey rarely easy, but Myke's going global and his message is one we all need to hear. For more about Myke Celis, visit bestmeever.com or find My Best Me Ever on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, or look for #BestMeEver. To learn more about our podcast and for a bunch of behind-the-scenes info, search for Dreams Are Real podcast group on Facebook and join our growing community. And now, here's my conversation with Myke Celis. Welcome to the Dreams Are Real podcast, where we aim to ignite the fire that allows you to unleash your greatest potential. I'm your host, Dan McPherson, and I'm on a mission to help you own your story on the way to building your ideal life. The first step toward achieving your dreams is to overcome the momentum of zero. Take a step and let that motion dispel the emotions of fear, worry, or self-doubt. No matter where you are in your life or your career, only you can make that choice. The good news, you've got this. Why? Because dreams are real. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Dreams Are Real podcast. I'm your host, Dan McPherson, and I have Myke Celis with me today. Myke is a global master coach and the founder of Best Me Ever. He spends a lot of his time in the world, making the world a better place, helping people to find their path and bringing joy to everyone he knows, myself included. I had an opportunity to meet Myke earlier this year when I was traveling in Asia, and I have felt the connection ever since. In addition to those things that I already mentioned, he is a radio and TV host. He is a serial entrepreneur, or maybe better put, a concurrent entrepreneur with so many different businesses in the works, a many times TEDx speaker, and an all-around good guy. Myke, glad to have you with us.
Oh, hi, Dan. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. I am thrilled for the chance for us to connect. Glad to have you as this opportunity to jump in and share your story. And as we begin your story, I just listed like 12 things that you do. When people ask you, what do you do? How do you respond?
I basically answer them with one sentence. I inspire people to become their best me ever.
And when they look at you and say, what does that mean? Now, what do you say?
That means as a life coach, as a book author, as an entrepreneur, as a multimedia host, I basically do everything aligned with bringing out the best versions of others.
So everything that you can do to help them find the best version of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something that is difficult for people to accept, or is that something that comes pretty naturally?
It actually comes as a surprise for them because, some people are very much not aware that deep within them is the greatness that they've always wanted to have. The kind of person that they've always wanted to be, but because life happened, they tend to forget about that. my purpose, I believe, in this world is to make them realize that, hey, you can bring out your inner unicorn
Your inner
and be the best,
unicorn.
yes, and be the best version of yourself. Yeah.
Nice. I have recently been using a unicorn emoji on my phone, and now I think I'll see that in a very different light.
It's always been associated with me ever since I started coaching because I've always loved unicorns from the start. And when I started in media, I was the unicorn. I was the different type of coach that broke the stereotypes
What
in the
made you
process.
so different?
I was the only openly gay coach in media then.
Wow, that had to be quite a barrier to break. How did that
Mm-hmm.
how was that received? Was it with excitement? Was it with concern?
Oh, it gathered mixed reactions because first and foremost, before I came into the category, there were already other inspirational coaches out there without mentioning names, but they had the same mold. They were wearing glasses. They wore polos or suits, and they had nice buttoned up shirts. And then here I come with my colorful outfit, with my spiky hair, and everything else. And people were surprised. However, whenever I started talking, that is when I get them to believe that, hey, there's a room for a unicorn in the media industry. As mentioned at first, it was met with a lot of mixed reactions. Like some people loved it, some people bashed me for no reason at all, and told me that I couldn't coach because I was gay. But deep within me, I was hurt. But I also knew that I had a purpose, that I had a purpose to actually represent all the other unicorns out there who were afraid to come out, to be themselves, just because the society judges them otherwise. So I persevered and ended up being one of the most well loved.
That's amazing as a success story, not only for yourself, but allowing you to create it for others. You
Yes,
mentioned that
dreams are real, Dan.
dreams are real indeed.
Yeah.
And you have helped many to discover that for themselves, which I love. When you think back to your childhood, going before your media, before being a media unicorn, before maybe even before your first thoughts of a unicorn, how did you grow up? How were things for you as a younger person, and how has that brought you to where you are today?
Okay. So I grew up in a dysfunctional family and I wasn't the favorite. I knew I was different at a very young age. It's just that my parents forgot that instead of giving birth to a young boy, they gave birth to a unicorn. And at age 5, I already experienced physical beating and verbal bashing from my own parents simply because they find they found me too soft. They thought that you have to conform to how little boys should be playing, to how little boys should be behaving. But there I was asking for a unicorn on my 5th birthday. Yeah. So growing up, they they favored my brother more. I had an older brother back then, and whenever I would get high grades in school, I would just get a pat on the back. While my brother, who was failing big time, if he gets a barely passing mark, would get a party instead. So that was my environment while growing up. So I became very independent because I didn't get the love and attention that I wanted at home. So I thought I would get it in school. But in school, however, I was also bullied for being different. Again, when little boys were roughhousing on the grass, there I was with my girl classmates playing with trolls. So it was basically the same thing. And what occurred to me then was that maybe I am not doing enough yet. So I strived hard to become really good in school, which eventually translated also to my perspective and I journeyed through life. So I started working hard, being successful in my career. Prior to being a life coach and in the media, I was a marketing and advertising executive for multinational companies here and abroad for 17 years.
17 years.
And 17 years, yeah.
Wow.
And I worked my way up, won awards, did landmark work, got my very big corner office in a very nice building, and got published in an advertising marketing magazine in Southeast Asia. I thought I had everything planned. But then when I reached the peak of my career, then it felt so empty because in between, during my journey, I also got involved in physically abusive relationships with my ex-boyfriend, and a betrayal of a friend made me lose millions. And during the time that I reached my peak, when I was asked, what else would you need? You have already everything. Deep inside, I knew I had nothing.
So
So,
as a kid, you were physically abused. You
yep,
were you were treated as second rate.
yeah,
You were bullied at school.
mm-hmm,
You go through abusive relationships.
mm-hmm,
You try to prove that if you do more and you do more and you do more, it'll be
yeah,
okay. You do all of
yeah,
those things, and
yes,
yet you're still feeling empty.
empty, empty. Because I was driven by grit, anger, and pain. There was no other inspiration during that time. So that's why each and every day seemed like a battle to prove myself each and every time. Because if I don't, I felt that during the time I wouldn't matter.
When you were little and going through all of these really in many ways unspeakable challenges, and I'm encouraged by the fact that you're willing to speak about them. I know
Mm-hmm.
that that was one of the biggest barriers for me, is speaking about the challenges of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have dreams when you say you grabbed onto unicorns? Did you have something that you had in your mind that you thought, I want to be this, or not really?
Oh my God, when I was little, I just knew I wanted to be loved and accepted. That was how simple my dreams were. I knew then also that I loved performing on stage and talking. And other people would tell me that, hey, you should be hosting, hey, you should be in a show and all those stuff. But then again, the little me only wanted to be noticed, loved, and accepted. But now, I think I held on to that dream for the longest time. And it took me 17 years after to realize that dream
That's very
in
powerful.
marketing.
What transitioned for you when you were at that high point, getting published in that corner office? How did you
Mm-hmm.
flip to where you are now?
Oh my God, I resigned the next day.
What, you resigned from that position the next day?
I resigned the next
What was
day.
that conversation like?
I told the president of the company then that I'm no longer happy. This is not my journey, and I would like to resign. And my client freaked out, my boss freaked out because I was already a creative director then, the youngest one in the industry back then. And they asked me, why? What's wrong? What if we offer you this? I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not that. Because it felt so empty that it hurt so much that it actually numbed me. All I
Was
remember then was that I don't want this.
So you knew that you
So
didn't want it. Was some of that driven from the pain of what you mentioned before, that you had
I
fought for
think
all this
so.
success and then had millions taken from you and had gone through all of this? Was it all tied together, or was it really just its own emptiness?
I think so because I never got to resolve them. right? People are not aware that when you have unresolved issues, especially stemming from your childhood, of which like from ages 0 to 12, you get like around 80% of your belief system. It affects your current state.
Let's say that again.
So
From the ages of
0 to 12, you get 80% of your belief system.
the belief system you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Yes.
That
So
is
that's
a
your mental programming.
right. That is a powerful tool. Pause for a minute. For those of you listening, pause for a second and think about that age, 0 to 12, and recognize that 80% of what you believe comes from there. And
Uh,
we
and
spend how many years
95%
overcoming that?
it took me X number of years. it wasn't even during my transition. It was during like when I finally figured things out. And to this moment, to be honest, I'm still in the process of discovering more and more. And it allows me to actually understand more my clients because each and every client that I have, I feel that there's a certain part of me in them.
So what is your transition from that high paying, very successful job to resigning and going on to something else? What did that look like? And I ask for the audience, but I also ask a little bit selfishly because I had almost an identical transition.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the moment I resigned, all I wanted was that to find myself. But in order to find myself, I must do something else, right? So what I did was teach. I actually taught in graduate school in the top two universities in the country on a part-time basis. However, during that time, my students would ask me for life lessons and not about the lessons in class. Maybe because they see my everyday posts. During the time when I felt so empty, my way of recovering was to post every single day on Facebook the lessons I've learned in my journey. Normally people would rant if they experience something bad, but in
Right.
my case, yeah,
No,
I
yes, they do, especially on Facebook. I think they rant in life, but on Facebook even more so with what people
I
encounter.
know, I know. So what I did though was tweak it in such a way that what I posted was the positive lessons I learned in the process. It was my way of coping. And I started by using the hashtag best year ever, because my goal then was just to get through the year. It was just to finish the year because during that time I already wanted to kill myself.
So this was you giving yourself a reason to push on, that I will
Yeah.
make it through this year.
The year. The year. And slowly, one by one, people started reacting positively towards my post. And they would message me privately or comment on my wall, not knowing what I've been going through. Because all they see is a successful person posting inspiring quotes. They didn't know that I was really at the lowest point of my life. So
How did
during
how
the
did
time,
that how did
yeah.
that feel to you when you're and I've had some experience with this as well. As you know, I suffer from
Mhm.
anxiety and depression. I speak out about it frequently. How did it feel for you being at the lowest point of your life and yet seeing others responding positively to those posts? Were you in denial? Did you like it? Like, what did it do to you?
I wasn't in denial because I knew what I was doing was to heal myself. I had to come from another space. Maybe because I also believe that there's within us, there's a coach within. There's that certain aspect of us who knows what to do during the time. So I just trusted the process and went with it. I felt empowered when they were actually reacting positively towards it because number one, I felt I wasn't alone. Number two, I felt that I was for the first time doing something which came from my heart, out of inspiration and not from desperation of wanting to prove myself. And then number three, with the lives I've changed in an instant with those posts because of their reflections, I think I told myself that maybe this is my purpose. I just continued on. But then came December 31st of that year, and I was thinking, what about next year? Can it be hashtag best year ever year two? It would sound weird.
Right.
So I actually took a step back and asked myself, maybe it's not about the time frame. Maybe it's not about what happened to me. Maybe it's not about the people who offended me. Maybe it's about myself and what I can still do. So that's when I actually embraced hashtag best me ever.
And that was the
And
birth of Best Me, hashtag Best Me Ever.
and that was the birth of the hashtag best me ever. And that is when a publisher saw me and asked me to publish my book online because Facebook was not yet private during that time.
Okay. What year was that?
That was around 2013 when I published my first book.
Okay. So 2012 is Best Year Ever. 2013 is the beginning of Best Me Ever.
20 to fully embrace it, actually, the time I totally embraced hashtag best me ever was during only my second book launch, which was 2017,
Wow.
when I actually focused on it, when I finally embraced it. Because all the while I mentioned I was teaching. So in the process, I was still, should I do this? I'm inspiring people. I was giving talks, but I didn't know what I really wanted. But I knew I was doing something which felt close to my heart. So there.
In the years where
2017 was this end. Yeah.
in the years before you had fully accepted it, what was your
Mhm.
thought as people came and said, "Oh, do this book"? You knew you were changing lives, but you hadn't really accepted it. What were your thoughts
I
about doing a book?
I know. I was asking myself, why is this happening? Because it was never in my bucket list. I never wanted to become an author. I never wanted to teach in school. So I'm like, I grew up thinking, and all my life I've been in marketing and advertising, and that is what defined me, or so I thought. But then people started telling me that, you know what, you're very inspiring. You know what, you remind me of Oprah. You know what, you can be a very good coach. I'm like, oh, where is this coming from? And then finally, when I launched my Best Me Ever book on 2017, the second installment, it was when I actually took a step back also and realized what is it that I wanted to be. And this is a very deep introspection wherein the visuals that popped into my mind was that of Oprah, Tony Robbins, and Ellen. And what did I like about them? I like it that when they talk, they manage to change lives at an instant. And then I did my research and found out that they were either coaches or they had life coaches. So I'm like, okay, I want to be that. And that's when I embraced everything.
So you had to figure out how to put Oprah, Tony Robbins, and Ellen together and
I
become
know.
that.
and that is so weird because again, growing up, I never saw this. But right now, come to think of it, everything had to happen to me, meaning a not so happy childhood, abusive relationships, betrayals from friends, because those stories made me an effective coach because I come from the heart. I can truly feel how it feels to reach the lowest point in one's life.
When someone shares that powerful story, you have something that resonates with that.
Yes. So that's why during my TED Talks, people cry because it's not only about those stories, but when you ask powerful questions that you know can change lives, then you've done your purpose.
How did you move
And that
on?
is the most beautiful reward.
Once you started to establish your purpose and grab onto that,
Mm-hmm.
did your dream change? Did you feel like you'd fulfilled that dream as a kid that you had as a kid of looking for love and acceptance?
Okay, the first thing I actually thought about was that if I'm going to turn my back on a career that I have built for 17 solid years, how would I want my life to be? And the visual of the unicorn came into mind. And I'm like, I'm going to do this my way, regardless of what other people may say. And when I told them that I would be transitioning to life coaching, they were like, huh? Why? Why? What happened? And because people here during the time also were not yet into life coaching per se. It's still a growing industry in the Philippines, but worldwide it's already booming. So it was something new for them. But in my heart, I knew that no, 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 no. This is my purpose. And when I embraced it, I also had to struggle because first and foremost, no one wanted to book me for interviews because I was a neophyte coach. No one wanted to invite me for talks because my background is heavily in marketing and advertising and not about life coaching. So the struggle was there. The rejections were many until I finally got hold of some of the most strategic breaks in my life, which included a breakup with my ex partner, which led me to getting signed up by a radio station the same day it happened.
You say it led to it. Was it coincidence that it was the same day, or was there a direct connection of why that happened?
Okay, you tell me. The story was we broke up after 3.5 years because I was already embarking on my coaching journey, and it was slowly my media appearances were picking up after quite some time. And because he was in the closet, he did not like it to be associated with someone who's out and proud.
Right.
So the day we broke up, I had an interview in a radio station 4 hours later. And when I was being interviewed, the radio anchor asked, you have written a lot of very powerful nuggets of wisdom in your book. Did this come from experience like a breakup? I'm like, oh wow, universe. Why? Why? And we were on air. It was Facebook Live also. And I'm like, deep breath. And I said yes. And the engagement went wild. And then 2 days after, they called me up and they wanted me to co-host for 1 month. And then after that, they extended it and the rest was history. 3 months after, I got signed up by a network and everything else fell into place. Interviews, right and left, and media.
So now
Suddenly, I was there.
now you host a radio show,
Yeah,
which I've been
exactly.
fortunate to be a guest on, and you do an amazing
Yeah, and
job.
when you come back, let's make that happen again.
I look forward to that for sure. You're also
Yeah,
involved in TV now, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm actually in the works of finalizing something, but I cannot disclose it yet.
Ooh, exciting. Teasing.
Yeah, but the schedule would be quite demanding. My problem is I also have speaking engagements here and abroad every now and then. So if the show would be an everyday show, it presents a problem.
So that would be a huge pull on your schedule.
Yes, but I'm still, I'm listening to my heart. I
Well,
told them
Oprah
that
was on
give me
every
time.
day. That's all I'm saying. And Ellen
Yeah,
was on every day. So if you're going to be Oprah, Ellen, and Tony, it sounds like every day may come your
yeah.
way.
I am not in a hurry because I know in my own little way, whatever my platform may be, it's meant to be that. Whether in media, whether on stage or whatever, it's meant to be that. And I'll make the most of it.
One thing I really appreciate in hearing you tell your story is that you have an eagerness to do well, to improve, to grow, but not an impatience.
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. It takes time to grow, and I want to enjoy the journey. I always ask myself every single day that what can I do today that if I don't wake up tomorrow, I wouldn't have any regrets. Still. So I live by that mantra.
Making the most of every day as you're the
Yes.
best me ever, for
And
sure.
learning something new every single day. Learning something new.
You've also, as you mentioned, done a lot of speaking, and I know quite a few TEDx talks. What has that
Mm-hmm.
experience been like? So many people hear of TED and TEDx, and you're doing them. What feels to me, I see you posting like a new one every week.
No, okay. If I may share my story,
Please.
um, much like you before, I was an avid fan of TED videos. Meaning, I share them on my timeline. I watch them, and a part of me just said that someday I want to be on that stage. I want to stand in the middle of that circle, of that red circle, and have that logo behind me. And then I believe that when you actually verbalize and truly believe in your dreams, they become real. So I sent that out to the universe, and a few months after, that's when after I got signed up by a network, I got a call from my former student telling me that there was a TEDx event in one of the biggest schools here in the Philippines. So I'm like, okay, and I tried out. So there was, you see, for TEDx there would be some sort of a audition wherein you pick your topic, they interview you, you give samples of how you talk, and at the final race, they run through everything and evaluate you. At any given stage, you can be taken out from the list. But I made it. So after my first TEDx in DLSU, I told myself, I don't want to stop. Maybe I can go regional. So when there was another opportunity to do regional, I stumbled across TEDx Magsaysay Boulevard where I met our common friend Ricky Shetty,
Haha.
who was a TEDx speaker also. So I'm like, okay, cool. That was my TEDx. That was way back in 2018. And Christmas time of 2018, December 25 in Korea, I was thinking, what's next for me? You know, that time where because the New Year's coming, you're planning
Right.
what's next for you, what can you do? And I told myself, what if I try going global? And on December 25, I just sent out notices to the universe and to some TEDx organizers. And by January, after screening, I got my first international stint. And now 2019, I finished 8 TEDx here and abroad, including Japan, Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong. And for next year, I have 3 more. In January, Tokyo, February, Sorsogon, Philippines, and Hong Kong. So I believe it's truly my purpose and my passion, and that is truly my platform because no one in the Philippines has done as many TEDx's as I have because I see the value in them. The audience there, the way they would resonate and react to you have been very life changing for me. And one of the greatest story that I can share is that I actually prevented suicide during one of my talks because the person listening needed to hear my story. And that was very beautiful.
How did that impact you?
I was like, Lord, thank you for bringing me here. There's really a purpose. And the people I've met during my stints here and abroad, they become my lifelong friends. And little that I know that some of my co-speakers also had personal problems. And it was meant to be that I was seated beside them because as of now, I'm coaching them.
You connect with people, you resonate with them. You have the story and the heart and the passion and
Yes,
the compassion, and now you have that relationship where you're helping them beyond that meeting and going
I
forward.
know.
That's so powerful.
I know. And the way for myself, right now because I come as is. The way I'm talking to you is probably the way I deliver my TEDx talk, depending on the topic. And it's all about be accepted for the unicorn that I am. And that is the biggest disruptor in TEDx because you can see people wearing the same thing, normally black or in power suits, and here I am in my colorful jacket
I love it.
and colorful shoes.
I love
Yeah.
it. You're being you, and I would
Yes.
say just from what I do know of our friendship that one of the greatest powers you have is being authentically you. And it
Yes.
seems to me that you're pretty comfortable in your own skin now, even though you say that hasn't always been true. Is that true? Do you feel more comfortable being you now?
You know what I figured out, Dan, in my recent trip to Bangkok? Because as mentioned, I've been studying a lot, improving my craft and all. I figured out that that story of discrimination I had in my subconscious mind is actually the biggest BS I've ever told myself and accepted for the longest time. Because again, growing up, I thought that if you're gay, you'd be bullied, you'd be set aside, you wouldn't be accepted. But now seeing my friends and majority of my friends in Bangkok are straight men and they hug me and they treat me as, like their brother and all, it feels amazing. And here in the Philippines also, it actually changed. The moment I shifted my mindset that discrimination is not real, it made me even more appreciate the authentic self that I've always been pushing for.
Seems
Because
that
yeah,
seems that a
it is
lot
as
of a lot of
lovable.
what I'm sorry. It seems that a lot of what you're sharing is law of attraction, right? What you put into the universe is what you're going to get back.
Because it's very much true. And again, at the end of the day, it's all about your mindset. I mean, we couldn't control everything that has happened to us, and that's a fact. And you couldn't predict what would still happen to you. But what you can do is really adjust in the now. How can you make the most of it?
I like the quote that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. It's one that I try to live by is don't let the 10 control
Mm-hmm.
the 90.
Mm-hmm. I would like to tweak that though. It's 90% of how you take responsibility for it.
Oh, ownership is everything, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's good. When you're working with somebody, what's the biggest barrier that they had that you see to their success and how should they remove it if you were to give a piece of advice?
Hmm. Come from your authentic self. Because sometimes when you work with someone, you put your best foot forward. And that's not always the case. It's not always about that. It's all about coming from what is true to you and what really makes you feel happy, complete, and fulfilled. So you don't need the walls up there. You
So
just have to, come from what is true.
so be the best me ever. Be you.
Yeah, because that would be more than enough. I like working with people. I choose the people I work with. And FYI, Dad, I choose my clients also. I don't accept all coaches. Why? Because I believe that there's a coach for someone who can best help them. I am very much in touch with my authenticity. So the moment I feel that it's not aligned with your values or you want me to be your coach for a different reason, I say no. And it's okay.
Did you have to get comfortable saying no, or was that hard for you, or did that come pretty easily?
Before, when I was starting, I am like, come on, everybody, get me as a coach. But then, growing in my practice, I realized that it was okay to say no because, truth be told, you don't spend the same energy coaching someone from the rock bottom to someone who's just one step away from attaining his bliss. It's not the same. Hashtag Best Me Ever, my coaching program is focused on self actualization and personal breakthroughs, meaning you've already reached that level wherein you ask yourself, what's next? Because you're already successful. So most of my clients are really celebrities, executives, politicians, so people who have made it in their field. And like my story, when they reach the top, they don't know what's next. So it's very much targeted. But I do accept clients whom I have the heart for, meaning if I feel like recently I accepted someone uh, who was working her way up, not super successful yet, but can be soon. But I felt in my heart that this one is a unicorn. I know I could make this happen. And 2 months after our sessions, she's excelling, and she broke records in her company. I'm like,
That's a strong success story.
yeah, you just have
And
to feel it.
only in the last couple of years have I become, I would say, careful with who I accept as coaching clients as well, for the same reasons, right? I came to understand the criteria that were important, that for people that I could help the most and be the right match for. It wasn't about that they were bad people. It's that I wanted to be able to leverage that to help them where they needed to go in the best possible way. And it sounds like you do very much the same. What's next for you? Where do you go from here, and what's your dream now?
I'm going global, Dad. I've always been vocal about this. I'm going global. I'm going global with my coaching program. I already have several offers from different countries. My next book will be published in Vietnam already next year. I've been offered a show to be produced in Dubai and coaching programs in Malaysia. What's next for me after that? I guess if I can still host internationally, that would be great. But right now, I'm taking it one day at a time. I mean, like, universe, take me where I'm meant to be. As long as you don't change the unicorn in me, I'm good.
Do you have a dream impact? You talked before about being that mix of Ellen and Oprah and Tony Robbins. Is there a particular impact that you're aiming for, or is it really just whatever the universe brings at this point?
I would be, if given a chance, I would be. This was a powerful line that actually changed me, and I just remembered now. Thank you for that question. Um, Someone told me before when they got me for, it was actually Ricky Shetty. When he got me for Freedom Summit, wherein there were a lot of international speakers and all, I told him, thank you for having me, hashtag road to Tony Robbins. And he said something that actually changed me. And it was, no, Myke, it's road to the hashtag Myke Celis. So I'm like, wow. And now answering your question, I just want to be the Myke Celis of the world. Whatever that may be.
Completing your own self-actualization.
Yes. The Myke Celis of the world who would remind other unicorns and people out there that dreams are real.
You've had a long journey of success and ups and downs and wins and challenges. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way?
Be grateful. Be grateful. Always come from a space of gratefulness, because everything that happens to you, good or bad, you learn. And every time you learn, you grow. It brings you closer to becoming your own hashtag best ever. So that way you can never lose in life.
Is there something that you wish you'd known 10, 15, 20 years ago that you know now that you feel like, man, if I'd known that, I'd have been better off?
Had I known I would be a life coach, I would have started at 10.
Just start early on. You would have been global by 15.
No, but seriously, I guess if I had this kind of mindset when I was younger, I guess I would be having you over in my show at NBC.
Well, I look forward to that happening anyway, soon enough.
Yes. We'll make that happen.
As many of the people who listen to our shows are either newer entrepreneurs or maybe they're considering stepping off like you or I did to become one, what do you think is the most important characteristic for someone who's going to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Hmm. It's all about being true to yourself first, meaning come from your heart. I only pursue businesses which are close to my heart, meaning I can truly relate with. It's not just about the money potential, but meaning how I would feel when there would be problems arising from it, right? Because that's the biggest challenge. Sometimes entrepreneurs who are just after the money, when problems arise, they let go completely and immediately. But if it comes from the heart, if it's your passion project, if you truly believe in it, then that's how it would make the business flourish and last for a long time. Think of something that would make you feel happy, complete, and fulfilled. Then go for it, whatever it may be.
It's a pretty good Venn diagram: happy, complete, and fulfilled. Whatever's in the center of that, do that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, are there any particular resources that have made it easier to chase your dreams, whether it's books or people or podcasts or anything like that? Is there anything that's made it easier for you?
Um, I used to read a lot of Chicken Soup for the Soul book, and the secret, the magic, the power from Rhonda Byrne, those types of stuff. And it also contributed to that. Actually, I believe I love reading inspirational stuff. Makes me feel happy, and it makes me realize that there's still goodness in this world.
That's a beautiful thing. Keeping and I think with so much negativity in the world, it's good to
Mm-hmm.
keep a balance of intentional positivity, not just coming
Exactly.
from ourselves, but drawing that in.
Let me also add to that, not also being just intentional about the positivity, but coming from a space of authenticity. Because that is also one of my biggest differentiation from others who post positive quotes and yet do not live the same lives offline. I am basically an epitome of everything that you are hearing and seeing right now consistently because that is the real me. And
So,
whatever you see is whatever you get.
so whatever you post, that's what you are striving to
Yeah.
live every day.
That's why I post every single day. And notice I post at 7 a.m. Manila time because when I wake up, all my posts are based on how I felt during the
That is a wonderful habit. One thing we didn't mention before we move down the path here is that you also run a lot of other businesses.
time.
You have,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
you have restaurants
Okay.
and all this other thing. I just have to
Yeah.
touch in there a little bit and ask you to share a little bit of
Sure,
what
sure, sure.
you as
Okay.
an
So my
entrepreneur.
first business was my ad agency. My ad agency, of course, because it was related to my career. But come this year, December, I would be finally turning over my reins to my friend who has wanted to partner with me for the longest time. But this time around, I would just be a silent partner. And I totally retired from advertising and
I'm not sure you can be silent anywhere, actually, but I get the
marketing.
but I get the image.
uh, well, okay, I will try my best to be a silent partner. Okay, let me correct that. I wouldn't be a, what do you call this? Involved in the operations directly anymore.
Fair enough. That's a good clarification.
Okay, I have a retail line. It's called Smell Chic. It's a home and body care line inside a mall here in the Philippines. And we're actually planning expansions next year. But I'm also in that space wherein I need to clear my things of some of my businesses simply because, not because they're not earning, because they are, but because I really want to focus on my coaching and my goals of going global. And for that reason, I'm thinking of actually selling the business, but it's still in the works. I have three other businesses. I have a restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an ice cream shop, and a bakery. I love these three dearly because it's close to my heart. I believe that food brings everyone together. And that is a wonderful opportunity for me to converse with customers and, give them 5 minute coaching sessions, and they're very happy and they come back.
Every time you post the food and about the restaurants, I'm so hungry and I just want to fly to the Philippines just to eat.
Oh, you will. You get to try it when you fly here.
I'm looking forward to coming back and trying it. You've managed such a diverse group of businesses. What you just listed, from marketing to basically to scents to restaurants, all of this, and coaching. How is it easy to manage them? Are they all basically the same, or does it take a different skill set for each one?
Skill set, yes, because there's a different skill needed in each industry that I'm in. But what is common to them is the mindset that I have to come from a space that I love what I'm actually doing, right? Because at the end of the day, again, if I don't feel happy, complete, and fulfilled, I wouldn't do it at all. I've been getting a lot of business joint venture offers and other opportunities which are not aligned with my values or which I feel would restrict me. It's a no for me immediately.
So you
Because
said
I
yes
already
to the
know my
things that
space.
you love and fulfill you. I love it.
Yes.
As you hear the phrase "dreams are real," and we've said it several times during this discussion, what does "dreams are real" mean to you?
It means to me that I am actually a living testament of that, because I broke stereotypes. I made my dreams happen, and that if I could make it happen, it could actually be true for everyone else also listening to us right now.
That's amazing. And when people use you as the example that dreams are real, which is pretty easy to do, multiple businesses out there, successful coaching, going global, speaking all over on the radio, on TV, that's a lot of different people's dreams.
Mm-hmm.
When people share you as an example that dreams are real, how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel that, again, everything that I went through was worth it. Everything I went through had a purpose. And right now, I'm living my purpose every single day, and that is so priceless. If you would ask me if I would go through it in my next life, I would gladly do it, but I would be a coach by age 10.
Start early and go hard. I got it. That brings us to our fortunate five. These are the 5 questions that I ask every guest, and I think it'll connect with you even a little extra because you're so focused upon fortunate and being in the moment and all the actualization. First up, what is the most exciting or adventurous thing that you've ever done?
Swim with the sharks in Bangkok.
Swim with the sharks. Were you in a cage or were you in the water with them?
We were inside the aquarium, swimming freely with the sharks, which were bigger than me. Way bigger.
That must be, was that terrifying?
It was. Because I didn't know that when you do scuba diving, there is actually a vacuum type wherein the water just pulls you through a certain spot and you get stuck there. And then you see the shark like literally a foot away from you.
Oh no.
I prayed so hard that it would put everyone's religion to shame. But I'm still alive.
And you survived.
And I survived. Would I do it again? No. No. And I did it during my birthday.
Oh, well, it is a birthday you won't be forgetting anytime soon.
I know.
Oh, yeah. My goodness. But you would not do that again.
No. Not for me.
What is something that you wish you were good at, but you aren't yet?
That is a tricky question. Okay. Technically, I would love to learn Photoshop and video editing. Okay. For business purposes. Emotionally, I am still working on how to actually recalibrate myself after each and every coaching session. Because, as a coach, you have to like detox and set everything aside. But with the growing number of clients that I have, sometimes I forget to do that. So I need to actually, strengthen my detoxing muscles
That's
afterwards.
That's a really creative answer and a powerful one, and one that challenges me as well. Making that
Mm-hmm.
transition, I think the hardest thing for me is when I have coaching sessions back to back to back. And
Oh, I only accept before. I used to have like 3 to 4 per day. Now I only accept two,
yeah,
5 days a week.
that space, that opportunity to cleanse and detox, I think is very
I
important.
know. I know.
What is and you love food, food brings people together. What's the best meal or food experience that you've ever had?
Japan, Wagyu, legit Wagyu barbecue.
Oh man.
I would eat it every single day of my life. That's why I can't wait to go back to Tokyo and indulge. I would not be on a diet during that
Now I'm hungry. That sounds glorious. Was
trip.
there a particular restaurant, or just getting it there in Japan, you're all good?
Because it's readily available in Japan. I
Right.
tried the street foods, I tried the fancy restaurants, and it's still the same.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
Man, I am hungry. Uh, you've traveled quite a bit. You've spoken
Mm-hmm.
in many places in the world, with more to come. Where
Mm-hmm.
is a dream travel destination for you? Where's somewhere that you haven't been that you really want to go?
I want to go to Vancouver and be part of TED.
Nice. Ted, Vancouver.
Without batting an eyelash, I'm like, I'm going to go. Because that's the main location for TED, right? So I want to be part of that.
I love that. I am in. I haven't been to Vancouver. We both have quite a few friends up that way. It
Mm-hmm.
could be a
Mm-hmm.
fun trip. Maybe knock that off the
I
list
know,
for
I
both of
know.
us.
I know, I know, I know. We'll make that happen.
Here's one that's a
And you've
little.
heard it first here.
We did. We heard it first. You're going to be there on that TED stage next to all these
Yeah.
people that you've been looking at. Nail it in
Mm-hmm.
Vancouver. We can make that happen. Put that into the
Yeah.
universe.
Dreams are
We'll get the
real.
audience to put that in the universe for you.
Yes, dreams are real.
What do you hope or believe will be the most exciting invention of the next 30 years?
Uh, is there an invention that it will determine the authenticity of a person so that it would be easier to discern whether a person is worth your while or not? That would be amazing.
I think for years, most people have thought of that as a BS meter, and this is just an enhancement, right? It's, it's,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this person's being fake. This person's being authentic. I'm in. They mean what they say.
Yeah, I know, I know, I know.
So
That
do
would
you
be
envision,
amazing.
is this just like a little meter? Is this a
It's a
spray?
meter that's rainbow colored that actually makes it the color changes depending on your authenticity.
I love it.
The darker,
And if you're really authentic, it produces a unicorn.
yes, it produces a rainbow and a unicorn in the end. Congratulations. But if you're not, it changes color. The darker it is, the less authentic you
Nice. So we need to be some lighter colors. I
are.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. As we wrap up, is there a certain
Mm-hmm.
thought or message that you'd like to leave with our audience?
Okay, consistently tell this in all my talks and in all my guestings and hosting stints. Wherever you are right now in your life, always know that it's okay. You're exactly where you're meant to be simply because you're on your way to become your own hashtag best me ever.
That's a beautiful thought. How can our audience find you? What are you working on that they should know about? Where could they connect?
Okay, so you can visit www.bestmeever.com. I'm actually updating the website right now to put in my client testimonials and some new videos also. You can also follow me on Facebook at Best Me Ever by Life Coach Myke Celis, or at Instagram, it's my_Best Me Ever, or in YouTube, hashtag Best Me Ever TV. You can also tune in to BVME 15:30 a.m. every Monday, or just catch the live stream on my Facebook, Myke Celis.
Lots of places to connect with you. And of course, they can also find you on TEDx stages and soon to be TED stages all over the world.
Yes. Oh, my videos are on TED.com, so you can search Myke Celis.
That's right. Search that. And we will link to all of those in the show notes as well, so that everyone has an easy chance to find you. To our listeners, if you guys have not followed him just by listening to this podcast already, what are you waiting for? Go to your platform of choice. Follow this guy. Lots of great, encouraging, positive, uplifting, and transformational content. Thank you so much, Myke Celis, for being with us.
Thank you, Dan. I had fun.
I did as well, and I look forward maybe a round 2 in the future.
Surely. In TED Vancouver.
That's right. All right, thanks, man.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Dreams Are Real podcast. If anything we've said has inspired you to dream bigger, live more boldly, or move closer to your ideal life, please reach out and let us know, and also be sure to share this episode with a friend. We would be honored if you would like, subscribe, and leave a review for our show on your favorite podcasting platform. And for more discussion of this episode and all things related to the Dreams Are Real podcast, and to receive your free download of Dan's Defining Your North Star training, please join our Dreams Are Real community on Facebook. Until next time, be amazing and keep crushing it.